Well, down into the dark we go. Oh, I really wish it was a little more light around here. I don't like the darkness. Not one bit. Still, I'd best put on a brave face for the others. After all, they'd be lost without me. I always come up with the best ideas. I am the most clever, after all. I do wish we knew a little more, though, about what's going on. I mean, I'm still not entirely sure how we're supposed to make this beast help us. Do we need to defeat it, or reason with it, or is there something else? I'm sure one of the others will come up with something. I'm sure if we all work together, we will find a way. We have to, after all. I mean, I think if this doesn't work, we might not be able to stop the void this time. Everyone who's depending on us will be let down if we fail here, and I can't let that happen. No, even better, we can't let that happen. Just like the brave hero did before us, we will prevail, no matter what happens. This is Red Moon Role-Playing.
The great beast starts to snap its head around as best it can. It's not terribly mobile, but it's, you flit over here, it moves its head that way, and it attempts to catch you in its pinchers, and then you flit over there, and it moves that way and attempts to catch you in its pinchers. And you are staying well ahead of the thing and anticipating its movements when Beulah...
Yes, I light my fists on fire.
Using what?
Fire in fist. It's magic in the fire realm. So I can create fire in my hand, and I can actually throw it with a body check.
Let's throw some fire. Body check, target number 4. It's big and not moving terribly. The target number is really there more for getting, hitting in such a way that might actually get some sort of reaction out of it. Something will actually happen, as opposed to you could just you could walk over and just stick a torch next to the thing right now. It's a big monstrous thing that's not really moving. I
don't have any illusions about trying to kill this beast or even even damage it in any amount, but what I am after is trying to open it up.
You see me gathering up myself, getting ready to, if you manage to sort of weaken the carapace, maybe charge in with a body check and just try to slam through.
So I get a 5 and 2 4s.
All right, so that's 3 hits. So mark Shadow. You succeed with a boon. You create a ball of fire in your fist. You throw it. Seth, you see in Erohander, you see very quickly that as she releases the ball of flame, the beast stops following Seth, snaps its head around, looks directly at Beulah as she releases the ball of flame, and opens its mouth, and the ball of flame goes right into the thing's mouth between its pinchers. The pinchers don't close. It doesn't thrust itself toward you. It just opens its mouth, and the ball of flame flies inside. And now there's illumination inside there. And Erohander, as you were preparing yourself, you look into the gullet down the throat of this thing, and you see a ghost. A ghostly figure, specifically a fawn. And you recognize this fawn from portraits of an ancestor of yours. Some great, how many times? This grandparent lived 250 years ago. You don't know a great deal about them, but you have seen portraiture. Who is this grandparent? Who is this fawn to you?
It is Dorovia. Dorovia with the silken voice. The one that would capture everyone, and we'd sit around. People sing about her voice, and always in the lyrics pointing it out how they couldn't ever replicate the silken sound of the notes that she would spin.
And the ghost begins to sing. Not words, but a melody. And the melody you hear is that of a lullaby your own parents would sing to you when you were a child. They told you that their parents taught them this lullaby, and their parents taught them. and this ghost inside, illuminated by the fire, waves toward you and beckons you forward.
As in going in through the mouth?
Yes.
I feel entranced. This is what I've been hearing about. This is it's her. And I was gonna charge at a plate on the body, and now this happens, and I just look at the other two quickly, and I jump in.
Irohander disappears into the maw of the great beast as the fire extinguishes, as it grows darker inside, but you still see a bit of a glow and glimmer.
And you hear a, "Watch this!" as I fly in.
And the two of you are left outside. The beast's mouth remains open.
I mean, I dart about. I stop. I say, like, Irohander, no! What? And then I just sort of curiously wait for a few seconds. Does the beast do anything?
It does not spit Irohander out, and you do not hear screams of torment and pain. It sits quietly with its mouth still open, pointing its head still at Beulah.
I guess that's our cue. I start walking over as well. Seth?
Well, I mean, the worst thing that can happen is we're all being eaten, but maybe it's big inside. Okay, fine, let's go in. Yes.
I can't believe he actually did that, though. Weird fellow, this fawn, isn't it?
I don't know what he saw. Let's go and look, and then I dart ahead faster than Beulah to get in there first.
You join in there. Join Irohander and Beulah bringing up the rear.
Is it very dark in there?
It is quite dark. I was just about to get there. Yes, Saf, you are... Yeah, this is not good.
I very quickly dart back again and sort of appear behind Beulah and go, I mean, actually, maybe you can go first. I'll stay behind.
Do you want me to light another fire?
Good idea. Let's small one.
I just light my hands on fire then, and I could always self-immolate as well, but I'm not gonna do that.
The small light allows you to see, it illuminates enough for you to make out your immediate surroundings. You are convinced that if you were to self-immolate, which is, that's a thing, that you would light up, a great deal more. You've had experience with this, but the small fire in your hand is enough at this point.
Do we see Irohander somewhere?
Yeah, he's right there, and he appears to be. Well, what is he doing? You're right at the ghost. She doesn't speak to you yet. She's still just sort of singing that lullaby melody. She's a very kind face.
I'm standing there with a kind of just entranced face, and I just close my eyes, and as I hear the others approach, I just look back. I have this glittering sparkle in my eyes, and I say, Dorovia. Fellas, Dorovia.
Do we see an image in front of us?
Yes, you see a ghostly form, translucent, more translucent than you, Saf. Whether you have ever seen a ghost is up to you each individually. They do exist. But she is a middle-aged, I guess, fawn who is humming a melody that seems to be entrancing Irohander.
Dorovia. I know a song of Dorovia. I know lots of things. Excuse me with the singing. Why are you singing? What's going on with singing? Please.
I look at you disgruntled.
She stops singing, and she looks to Irohander. So you're here for all of this, I suppose. She sort of looks and motions about to the inside of this great beast's gullet.
I look slightly disappointed that she's stopped singing, actually. But, yeah, This is what we came for. What happened to you?
This thing swallowed me whole the moment we came upon it. I never had the opportunity to sing my songs of valor, to tell the tales of what Catherine did here. And I've been here ever since. It's a sad thing to not sing your song, isn't it?
Yes. You should know that we still sing about you. We all know about you, or heard about you, and we just assumed you were dead, but you haven't been able to pass on?
She says, "You sing my songs."
Yes. Yes, we do.
Tears well in her eyes.
And in mine.
I'm getting quite impatient by Beulah, but I don't say anything. I'm just kind of looking at Beulah a bit like...
She whispers to Irohander, "Find the arrow. The bow is gone. Find the arrow. I think you can do what you need to do. Thank you for sharing my songs." And she dissipates into nothing.
I stumble forward, almost reaching out my hands without thinking, and she's gone. I turn back to you guys. The arrow made by all the folks of the land. It's still in here, somewhere.
Well, we need to go find it, but I don't understand. Why did the thing let us in? It let us in. We're in. It's not trying to eat us. I mean, it is, but it's not. Nothing's happening. Something is very strange here.
Maybe it is eating us, even though we don't know it. I don't know how these things work.
The void, we gotta be careful. We gotta be on our guard.
Yes.
Yeah, guard your feelings. That's where it strikes.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead then, and it must be somewhere, like, let's keep going forward in the belly. The belly. You felt other people in the belly, didn't you? So let's go there safely.
But this arrow, would it be on the inside or the outside?
I don't know. Maybe yes. No.
Can I feel now if one of the emotions that I sensed before has disappeared? If this was one of those?
One of the emotions has disappeared. It was, you felt a brief bit of, you sensed a brief bit of joy and relief. And then that disappeared.
I nod to myself and to what the other two are saying. Yeah, I think the remaining two entities, whatever it is, are still down there. They might know more.
Is it more a ghost, you think? I don't like ghosts.
I've never seen a ghost before. Had you seen a ghost before?
Yeah, once or so, but I don't like them at all.
Ghosts are fine. You just need to talk to them nicely and play with them and fly around a little. Not a problem.
I wonder if her lullaby, though, was keeping it at peace, the whole thing. I carefully bring out my xylophone and I get ready to start to play if something would suddenly start to shift. And then I nudge, sort of nodding inwards towards Beulah. Wait, come on.
Okay. I start deeper into this beast's belly.
You start to walk in, and now getting past the great gaping mouth of the thing, into a much more crowded, tight space. And Beulah, this is not good. Looking at your list of fears, you're in a position where you must travel single file. There's no walking abreast of one another, and in some spots you find yourself actually having to push yourself through an even smaller opening and causing the gut of this thing to crack and undulate and get pushed out. And then after you walk through, it snaps and kind of wavers, and the next person has to walk through and push these sinuous, fleshy bits out of the way.
Maybe we're supposed to be on the outside. This doesn't feel right at all. We should probably go back out. It only gets narrower
And as I feel your emotions as best as I can, I sense that there is hesitance here, at least. I see maybe a stutter in your step, something, however this might give away, does it?
even though Beulah is quite courageous at almost all times, you can tell that she's like almost testing her ground a bit more when walking, like carefully stepping forward, stretching out her hands, feeling her way a bit more.
And I would like to use my expert performer talent and spend one spirit to execute a perfect performance with my xylophone, gently stringing some notes, and instill the emotion of courage in Beulah.
Very good. Spend your spirit. No check required for this. This is a trait that fawns possess, the ability to stir emotion. And Beulah, you are bolstered by your friend. How that manifests for you specifically is up to you. Mechanically speaking, at least until I tell you otherwise, these tight spaces will not affect your trait checks.
As the walls sort of cringe and maybe you get pushed by something, I mark the tones sort of in rhythm to that, and almost in a comical way. So I try to make it almost fun, what we're doing, and accompany the movement of the beast, of the void in here.
As you venture further, the inside of this thing sort of undulates with a slow rhythm, and you find that being the rhythm to follow. And so as the walls kind of pulse and close and release and pulse and close and release, you find yourself playing a song that no matter what you try to do with the song, it still feels a bit like a dirge, just for the speed.
I think you quickly see that Beulah's pushing forward with like renewed spring in her step and more determined than before.
I do notice, though, that this is happening. It's almost as if something is twisting the tones a little bit, but it seems to at least push her forwards, so that's good. But I can't help but myself feel worried.
As you continue forward, Beulah in the lead, you come to a spot where the essentially digestive tract of this thing opens up into a stomach or gullet or some greater chamber within the body. And inside, strewn across the floor, are all sorts of little spheres, little glistening spheres about 2 inches in diameter, a little nearly round, not quite round. In the midst of all of these, there is a form, a person, it appears, lying on the ground, such as it is, and crawling all over them. You can only barely make out bits of them occasionally. Crawling all over them are 3-inch long flies that are swarming about and nibbling at this person constantly. They move, they beat their wings, they crawl over one another, and underneath there is someone.
I walk over and try to, the best I can, swat the flies off the body.
You start swatting flies away, and many of them take flight around all of you, and we're going to put this into what's referred to in the game as an action sequence. And the flies, some of them at least, start to attack you. Looking at the form on the ground, you see that it is a red cap. Noticeable due to the red scarf that they're wearing. The redness of the scarf in this case, however, it's a deep burgundy, almost brown, brown burgundy, the color of clotted blood, of scabs, of blood that has long dried. And so I'm going to need this is basically initiative, so to speak, in this game works like this. Since I don't have a turn, quote unquote, because I'm not making rolls for the creatures or adversaries, it's just a question of what order all of you go in. The group of you can decide who goes first. If you feel it's appropriate that Beulah does, given she's in front, that's fine. Otherwise, someone else can jump in there. After you take your turn, you decide who goes next of your group until everybody in the group has gone, and the last person decides who goes first in the next round. And I will basically react and deal with, kind of throwing things at you as this progresses. So, who's going first?
Well, I like that Beulah, you went up starting to swat things.
Yeah,
So-
I'm just thinking maybe Seth is a bit more faster than us in reaction and movement. So while I started swatting, maybe the flies started flying around and attacking Seth first, maybe.
Well, I mean, that would make sense to me in that case. If I go first, I do indeed quickly react to seeing actual foes. I am concerned for my companion, after all, and so I shall use Obscuring Cloud. I start screaming and flying around in fast circles to create a cloud of dust and debris the size of a small house. In this case, if there is not the correct amount of debris inside this small space, being it accomplished itself, I always carry my little bag, a couple of bits of dirt and gravel to sort of throw, just to create something. The goal here being to hopefully, these being fellow flying beings, really irritate them a lot by a sudden buffet of wind, irritating them more than my friends. So that's what I do. I just start circling my friends, trying to create this sort of buffer of wind and dust.
You do that, and you kind of kick up all of this debris. In the process of doing this, because you're moving so quickly and the wind is so strong, some of the little sticky, glistening spheres on the floor get kicked up into the air as well, and a few of them bounce off of you each. And you realize when they hit you that they're spongy and soft, and these are eggs. As they smack you and leave behind a bit of the glistening goo. That's a straight check for you to do that, correct? There was it just said the talent just says you do it. Yes.
Yes, correct.
It doesn't call for a check or giving you advantage on something.
Correct.
So you do that. What I'm going to say is that what this does is it gives basically you're creating a wall that's helping to keep some of the flies out, so you can deal with them kind of in a measured pace. And other people who are going to attempt to kill flies or divert them or otherwise hurt them or protect yourselves are going to gain advantage on checks to do that, because you're not dealing with a massive swarm all at once.
And I feel then Beulah would naturally be the one probably who then follows after that then.
I'm thinking about my corruption, self-immolate, as we spoke of earlier, and that I might be able to set myself on fire and just go crazy burning these flies away.
All right. What does the talent require of you?
I mark one shadow.
You gain corruptions by gaining shadow, and every time you use a corruption, it's going to cost you shadow. It is a spiral toward being fully corrupted. So you mark a shadow and you burst into flames.
Yeah. And they don't hurt me, but I'm suspecting that they might hurt my friends.
I would imagine so. You're gaining advantage from Seth, certainly. So we'll see what else that gets you. Does the corruption get into any more specifics mechanically?
It says that on all my trait checks actually get a boon always on attacking.
Body check target number 5 for the flies. So even if you only, but basically what that means is even if you only get 1 success, you still get a boon out of it.
Yeah.
Normally you wouldn't until you got 2 or more successes.
I got a 6.
And you get a boon out of that automatically. To talk a little bit to the mechanics, the way this works basically is challenges like this have a number of, in this case, like think of them as check boxes. And a challenge might have a great many checkboxes. It might just have a few. It might be broken down by adversaries or specific, sub-challenges. Sometimes those challenges have milestones in them where certain things happen when you get to like the 3rd checkbox or the 5th checkbox or something like that. And when you make a check or a trait check toward dealing with the challenge, it fills in a checkbox. And if you get a boon, it fills in another checkbox. And you work your way across. And so it becomes like a group sort of thing more than individually dealing with specific monsters, although that can happen. You sometimes might have a challenge that is 4 checkboxes for some big bad thing, and then 4 separate checkboxes for their minions or something like that. So you could potentially, defeat one before the other. This is a swarm of flies, though, so it's just a big bunch of checkboxes, and we'll mark off 2. And so there's now debris flying about, including large fly eggs, and some of the flies that are now on fire are now caught in that debris as well. So we have a cyclone of fiery flies inside the gullet of a gigantic centipede. This game is going smashingly. It's exactly what I envisioned when I came up with the idea a couple years ago. So thank you for that. And I believe that puts us with Irohander, yes?
Yeah, and having just a few seconds to see the wounds on this supposed red cap lying on the ground, me having a fear of injury, I have a quick thought to myself that looks very painful, being eaten by these things. And then things start happening, and I realize I don't have time to wait. So I click my instrument so that the bows on the sides of the xylophone, they switch sides, they turn themselves inside out and show razor blade sharp knives. And I spring off the ground using my bounding feet, and I start bouncing against the wall, swinging the xylophone and its sharpened edges wildly, not to get any of these flies near me. And you see me from floor to ceiling to side, jumping around, trying to slice these things and avoid getting these sticky eggs in my fur. If I can roll for that.
Body check with advantage as for the cloud that Seth is providing.
2 hits.
2 hits. Mark is shadow, and you deftly cleave a few flies in half, and then also in the process, as you bring the thing back up, occasionally batter some of them just with the flat of this massive, sort of double-headed axe with multiple bladed tines that was once a musical instrument.
That's how it sometimes works.
You are a sight to behold, certainly. You decide who goes first in the next round, and that can be you.
How is the situation right now?
The fly situation has been diminished quite a bit. Seth, you see, and you're able to kind of call this out in the midst of all of this for Irohander and Beulah's benefit, that some of the flies that you managed to kind of keep out and away from you have just kind of buzzed off. They've fled. They've there's fire and there's wind, and flies are not going to respond well to all of that. So you've got the situation well in hand, but there's still some of these things coming after you.
Come on, everyone! Quickly, come on!
I shall let myself go first. What I want to do is to, as this swarm is thinning out, I'm going to start to cease my incessant jumping around on the edges and just land next to this red cap and swat the reds of whatever flies there are, and just try to. I see the wounds pretty close up now, so I'm just gonna.
Yes, they've been nibbled and bitten all over. They look like they have all these massive welts, that some of which are oozing and bleeding. We're going to. It'll be a body check to attack again. This time at a target number 6 because there are significantly less flies, and you're outside of the cloud. Take away the advantage at this point, so you're down to just the last handful.
I don't get any hits for 6.
Okay, mark a skill as several flies bite into you, and they dig in with their pinchers and they hold on tight. And as you're jumping around and attempting to hit some of the ones that are still in the air, they're the ones that are attached to you. They're getting kind of thrown about, but they're not letting go. So it's tearing at your skin, and it's quite painful. Keeping in mind your fear situation, mark 1 physical condition. For the record, for everybody, there's a emotional condition track and a physical condition track. What's the first physical? What does it say?
Exhausted.
Exhausted. So this is starting to wear on you. This is starting to, you're getting tuckered out. This is fighting 3-inch flies is a lot of work, and it's starting to kind of take its toll. And so, and then in the game as you go, at the first tier, you're not suffering any penalties to checks, but at the second and third tier, you start to suffer dice penalties to checks. Either, and you only suffer the worst of the two, whatever emotional or physical, whatever's highest. That's the one that you're suffering from. So right now you're just exhausted from fighting these things, and hurt quite a bit. They hurt. So who's going next to Eurohander?
Anyone who is keen?
I think Beulah probably would be logical.
All right, Beulah's up.
Yep. Sorry, I've missed this, but I do have an advantage on body checks to fight, right?
The advantage from
Red Rage.
Okay. Yes, 1 extra die. You cannot gain double advantage or double disadvantage. There's just advantage or disadvantage.
Yeah, can I gain the advantage from Red Rage and then actually buy another die with my spirit?
Yes.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yes. The in the rules, the gaining a die through spirit is referred to as gaining a die, not as advantage. So it's 2 different sources.
So I'm gonna actually do that. I'm gonna take my advantage from the Red Rage, and I'm gonna buy myself a second die, which means I will roll 6 die to be able to actually attack the last flies and get them out of the way.
Target number 6.
Yep, I figured that. Come on. And I got 2 6.
And you batter the last of the flies and burn them up and knock them down. In the process, some of their flaming bodies lie now amongst the eggs, and so some of the eggs are starting to catch fire. And, unless you were to do something about it, you will have a field of fire in here in some time. Until such time as they burn up completely, they won't necessarily burn terribly long. And that deals with your swarm of flies problem. You are left with a slowly gaining field of fire in the area. Seth, do you let the wind die?
I do, but I do quickly dart to the side of Irahander, looking concerned at some of those wounds, and I shall spend a spirit to blow one of the 4 winds in his direction. The southerly wind. The southern wind allows me to remove 1 condition from anyone. So I shall remove his exhaustion. As I say, Irahander, what are you doing? Don't get scratched. Look, it's all right. Hang on, let me blow on it. And as I do so, my cheeks puffer up, and the southern wind sort of doesn't come out of my mouth, but it's more the action itself makes the wind come from behind.
And a soothing, warm southern wind comes in, and you can erase that condition.
And I stand first, stomping the ground and fumbling with my instrument while I'm trying to pull these things off of me. As I grab a hold of one thing and manage to tear it off. It tears a chunk of, of my skin off, and then it gets caught by Beulah's flames. And then I feel just the soothing wind, and I give off a shiver as I curse at the same time of the pain, and then feel it relieving me. That feels good. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And there is the form of the redcap on the floor, on the ground, who is now no longer covered in flies, but is looking around, and you see the other two of you now see as well that they are covered with a great many sores and welts. Red. They are no longer just a red cap, but also a red skin. In not in that form, mind you, but in that they the skin is reddened and puffy, and there's some of them are oozing, clearly infected. Some of them are just bleeding, and they look over to all of you. And Beulah, you see the face of this red cap, and you've seen this red cap in portraiture. This is some great, how many times great grandparent of yours. Lived a short life.
It is Beulah. All the women in our family has been called Beulah for many, many, many generations. I walk over to her hesitantly, nervous, actually. As I reach out a hand covered in soot towards her to help her rise from the floor.
You help her up, and you see that, getting a good look at her now, kind of beneath the welts and the oozing and the bleeding, and now you get a smell, and she is dead and rotting. She is a revenant. She is a dead thing that is still alive. The skin is pale and cracking where there aren't red welts. She is slow to move, but she looks to you, cocks her head to one side. Are you a Beulah?
Yes, Beulah, and so are you.
Oh, wonderful.
How long have you been here?
Too long. Too long.
Maybe you can leave now that I am here.
Perhaps if you took my tale back to your to home, to the people, to our family, and ensure that they know what happened here, what happened to me, that I tried my best. I did not succeed, but Catherine did.
Is it not a tale of camaraderie and friendship and teamwork? And you were a part of that?
It is. And I was. For a long time, I knew Catherine from the first day she came here. I was with her throughout the trouble. I was with her here. In the end, great flies erupted from the thing's mouth, and I succumbed. But Catherine did not.
Well, maybe Catherine used everything you and the others told her, and that is why she succeeded. So you were probably not a small part of her victory, but a big part. Nevertheless.
I start nudging Beulah to the side. Ask her about the arrow.
Yeah. I turned towards her again, and I kind of... She was wearing a scarf, wasn't she?
Yes. Caked with dried blood.
Yeah. I kind of reach out and gently just, start stroking it, almost in reverence. We need an arrow, I believe. Do you know where we find it?
It's in the belly somewhere. I've been told in the heart.
The heart lies in the belly.
Well, not the belly as in stomach, but the belly as in the deep center, in the midst of the thing.
It would explain a lot of things, though, but yes.
The arrow must be in... She leans in, she whispers, the arrow needs to be infused with light. It's still there. It can be used again. And right there in front of you, she starts to crumble.
I try to catch her scarf and save that, if possible.
You reach out to at her sides, under her shoulders, and she crumbles into your arms, rots and falls apart very quickly, and her scarf lies now draped across your arms as the rest of her falls to pieces at your feet, and after a few seconds deteriorates to dust.
I kind of hang my head a little bit, kind of looking at the dust and what's ever left of Beulah, and I turn to my friends with actually a little tear in my eye. The belly of the beast and the heart, we must find. Let's go.
I'm looking quite awkward, and as Beulah leads the way, I kind of just muscle up next to Irahander, and I'm like, but so wait, so you knew the fawn, and she knew the red cap, but how? That's really interesting, isn't it? Why's that? Why did you both know them?
Well, they were both famous ancestors of ours, and I guess, friends of Catherine, allies. Think, who else was with her? Was there a sylph with her as well?
Maybe, but then we're all here as well now. Like, I mean, okay, like the Treekin was saying we were coming, but I mean we just got told to do this.
What about if there is a Sylvan ancestor as well? Then maybe I look around at the shapes and everything moving in here. Do you think Catherine's ancestor will, not ancestor, but her descendant will show up as well?
Maybe. That'd be nice. Although, I don't know. Whatever. Let's go on. I don't want to get left behind. Let's go. It's dark in here.
And I reach out once again and try to feel the emotions of the place, and if yet another one has now left.
And yes, you feel just the one remaining.
I just nod to myself and proceed, reach out a hand to Beulah.
I kind of put my hand over your hand as you put it on my shoulder and kind of like squeeze it a little before I continue going into the belly of the beast.
You continue forward, now leaving behind this great large chamber which is on fire, but the flames are restricted. They're not going to continue further. Making your way through this tract of rotting flesh that presses against you in these small spaces again. As you walk along, Eurohander, you find yourself stepping on spots where there's bits of carapace or chitin or some harder substance, and you hear this cracking sound. It sounds almost like bone cracking, and it reminds you of those times in your young life when you hurt yourself and you injured yourself. You broke an arm once. bringing back to these times, and you can just feel that seeping into your bones as you walk forward. Beulah, again, fighting with the small spaces as this cavernous realm kind of narrows, and you find yourself pushing through the sinew and the flaps of skin and emerging again into a larger area. Each time you find yourself holding your breath as you walk through these narrow spots. Seth, as you're walking through, as is your way as a sylph, you're always looking quickly and flitting quickly and checking behind you and looking around, and the darkness seems pressing and oppressive, and it's right on top of you, and you find yourself looking behind yourself. Beulah in front with the light, it's safe there behind you. Darkness, nothing but darkness. When you turn around, you realize that there is no light in this narrow chamber that you're in again. In fact, you do not see Beulah or Irohender at all, and you are alone.
I immediately go, Irohender, Beulah, Irohender, and I start getting quite concerned.
Beulah and Irohender, you hear Seth screaming from behind you.
I swing about. What's going on?
You turn and look behind you. You see nothing, but you hear Seth's voice as he yells, "Irohender, Beulah, where are you?"
I'm here. I start fumbling towards him.
Seth, you don't hear anything or see anyone.
I start whipping about a little, and I start getting quite panicky. I will attempt to spend a spirit to calm myself with the easterly wind of calming emotions. I just sort of stand very still and feel a wind blowing over me, and I just really try and focus, and I'm like, they must be there. People don't just vanish unless we make them vanish. They must be there. Calm down.
As I stumble on the bones, it makes my skin crawl, looking for a contact with Seth.
Seth, where did you go? Seth,
up ahead, past where Beulah and Irohender were, you see a white glow in a vaguely humanoid form. A very thin, frail form, but bipedal, 2 arms, 2 legs nonetheless. And you feel just the faintest warm wind coming from far down this horrible putrid cavern of flesh. Just a bit of wind. This is other than the winds that you have created yourself here, this is the first time that anything has felt really calming. And it washes over you.
Oh, okay, I quickly, glide over to the figure. I want to be close to, I can see someone. That's better than nothing. And I just like, hello?
Irohender and Beulah, you hear Seth's voice now out in front of you, in front of where Beulah was going, saying, hello.
in front of us.
Seth, you get to the form, and you see that this is a ghost of sorts. Looks to be like a ghost, in that they are translucent, but then again, you are nearly translucent, but not quite like Drovia that you had seen earlier, who looked more like what you think of a ghost to look like, wispy with kind of smoky tendrils of white trailing behind them. This is a sylph who is just glowing white, as if they're made of light or made of magic or something ephemeral. And after letting your eyes adjust for a moment, you see someone you've seen in portraiture as a child. Some some many times great-grandparent. Who do you see?
This is Zephys, of course. Wind charmer. She was extremely capable with the wind, especially creating, they said, sculptures, not from ice, but pure air, which was a great magical miracle for the time.
She beckons you forward. Do I know you?
Oh, no, you don't, actually, but, I think I know you. Oh, okay, there you go. Yes, we might be related, maybe. Huh, I don't know where my friends are, though. I've lost them. Did you see them? Did they come this way?
Your friends are there beyond. She points kind of past you and through you. They seem to be looking for something.
Oh, can I see them? I really start straining to see if I can actually see my friends.
You start looking really closely, and your mind returns to when you came down the cavern wall, when you came down the ravine, and how it took a few moments for you to focus properly to see that there were, in fact, magical steps carved into the stone. And eventually you saw these things, and you were able to walk down them, and you marked the way, and so forth. And you start to look back down the cavern with this glow of your some many times great-grandmother behind you and illuminating the space, and you see shimmers in the air reminding you of that, and these shimmers are moving. And as you look more closely, give me a mind check at a target number 5.
And once again, I get some advantage on using my senses. I get a 6 and a 5.
Mark 1 shadow. Your eyes adjust to this. You start to see that it is in fact Irohander and Beulah. You see that at first it's just their silhouettes. You start to see them as they start to become more fully formed and corporeal to your eyes. And Beulah and Irohander, you see Seth sort of fade into vision again, and there he is, as if he were invisible. And has just appeared again. And beyond him is a sylph, but something of a ghost-like sylph. Not like you saw before, but made of light.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we played Good Strong Hands RPG, which is published by our friends at Nerdburger Games and is on Kickstarter right now. Our game master was Craig Campbell, who is the creator of the game, and we were also joined by Jenny Bremberg. The music was created by Hagberg and was used with permission from their label, Cryochamber. Visit cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for more music for your games. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, and David Hagberg for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you for listening, and see you soon again.